Dawn creeps across my cotton fields like a slow-moving tide, painting everything in shades of gold and shadow. From my porch, I scan the horizon with the same careful attention I used to give enemy territories. Some habits stick with you, even 20 years after leaving the seals. The morning dew sparkles on the cotton bolls, peaceful and quiet, too quiet. The rumble of engines shatters the silence. 3 black SUVs tear down my access road, kicking up dust clouds that would make a sandstorm in Dubai feel gentle. My hand instinctively moves to my hip, finding empty air instead of the familiar weight of a sidearm. Civilian life has its downsides. I take my time walking inside, movements measured and deliberate. The gun safe in my study holds more than just family heirlooms. But it's the combat knife I reach for first. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. 8 men pour out of the SUVs like angry hornets from a kicked nest. Their leader stands out. Expensive suit, manicured hands, Cartel written all over him. The others carry AR-15s with the casual disrespect of thugs who've never had their weapons save their lives. Senor Hawkins. The suit flashes teeth that probably cost more than my tractor. Your neighbors were more understanding of our generous offer. Tommy Walsh. The name hits me like a punch to the gut. My neighbor's been fighting cancer harder than I ever fought tangos. Tommy sold his land for twice its value. The suit spreads his hands. Be smart like him. The mention of Tommy makes something cold settle in my chest. In another life, I watched friends die because we didn't move fast enough, didn't see the threat coming. Never again. 2 of his men moved toward me, confident in their superiority over an old rancher. Their first mistake. 20 years of peace dissolves like morning mist. My body remembers what my mind tries to forget. The knife feels alive in my hand. 1 slash, 1 strike, 2 threats eliminated with SEAL team precision. Their shock buys me the half-second I need to draw my concealed Glock. 2 more shots, 2 more bodies. Clean, efficient, just like training. Their leader dives behind an SUV as his remaining men open fire. I roll behind my old John Deere, bullets sparking off metal like angry fireflies. I've got 6 rounds left and 4 of you breathing. Want to rethink that generous offer? The grenade arcing through the air almost makes me laugh. Amateur hour. I snatch it and return to sender in 1 smooth motion. The explosion flips one of their vehicles, taking 2 more problems off my hands. The suit and his last man scramble into their remaining SUV and tear away, leaving their dead behind. The familiar iron smell of blood mixes with cotton and mourning. Dew. My phone breaks the aftermath silence. Tommy's name on the screen makes my heart skip, but it's not Tommy's voice I hear, just labored breathing and breaking glass. Your friend made a poor choice, calling to warn you. The suit's voice drips with menace. Now you both need to learn about consequences. The line goes dead, leaving me standing in my blood-soaked driveway. 20 years of peaceful ranching, gone in 5 minutes. I stare at the carnage around me, remembering similar scenes in far-off deserts and jungles. Should have stayed in Afghanistan, I mutter, heading for my truck. At least there, I knew who the enemy was. One thing's certain, this is just the beginning, and they have no idea what they've awakened. The drive to Tommy's ranch feels longer than any desert patrol I ever ran. My truck kicks up dust clouds as I push it faster than I should. But time isn't on my side. 20 years ago, I led rescue operations in hostile territory. Now I'm doing it again, just 5 miles from my own front porch. Tommy's gate is open. First warning sign. His security cameras are dark. Second warning. I park behind his barn. Old habits making me think about lines of sight and exit routes. The Glock is a comfortable weight against my lower back, but it's not the only insurance I brought. Some of my old gear still fits, including the ceramic plates in the vest under my shirt. Blood on the front steps. Not much, but fresh. Inside, the house is quiet, except for the hum of the AC. Pictures of Tommy's family line the walls. His wife, Sarah, gone 3 years now to the same cancer that's eating at him. Their daughter Amy, who visits from Austin when she can. Good people, the kind worth protecting. Tommy? My voice sounds too loud in the silence. No response. The living room's a mess. Overturned furniture, broken glass, signs of a struggle, but professional. No random destruction. These guys knew what they were doing. A half-empty coffee cup sits on the table, still warm. I wasn't too late by much. Tommy's phone lies shattered near the fireplace. Next to it, a piece of paper weighted, down with a brass shell casing. The notes handwritten, each letter precise. Some debts require more than money to settle. Come alone to the abandoned cotton gin on Route 83. 1 hour. No police. Or he dies slowly. Below the message are 2 words that make my blood run cold. El Cuervo, the Crow. A name I haven't heard in 15 years. Not since that operation on the Colombia-Venezuela border. Back then, he was Major Victor Ramirez, Mexican Special Forces. Now he runs the Sinaloa Sur Cartel's Texas operations. And apparently, he remembers me. I check my watch. 47 minutes until the deadline. Time enough to make a few calls. I pull out my burner phone. One of several preparations I never thought I'd need again. Old paranoia pays off sometimes. Sarah Chen. The voice on the other end is professional. Clipped. Still working weekends at the DEA, Sarah? A pause. Holy shit. Hawkins, I thought you were growing cotton and getting fat. Things change. Remember Major Ramirez? He's calling himself El Cuervo these days. Victor Ramirez. Her voice sharpens. Jim, that's classified intel. How do you… Because he just kidnapped my neighbor and left me an invitation. I need to know what I'm walking into. Keyboard clicks in the background. Sarah was my best intelligence source back in the day. Some things don't change. El Cuervo's been busy. His cartel's buying up land along the border, building something big. We've lost 3 undercover agents trying to figure out what. They tried to buy my ranch this morning. When I declined, they tried a more aggressive approach. Jesus, Jim. How many? 8 came. 3 left. She whistles low. Still got it, old man. But this is bigger than a land grab. Whatever they're building, it's worth killing for. Let me call in some… No time. They've got Tommy, and they know who I am. This is personal now. Jim, wait. I end the call. Sarah will trace it. Probably have a tactical team en route within the hour. But Tommy doesn't have an hour. The old cotton gin looms ahead. A rust-red skeleton against the morning sky. Perfect spot for an ambush. Multiple entry points. High ground. Plenty of cover. In my SEAL days, we'd approach with a full team. Thermal imaging. Air support. Today, it's just me, my sidearm, and 40 years of experience. I park openly, making no attempt at stealth. They'll be watching anyway. The gravel crunches under my boots as I approach the main entrance. A camera tracks my movement. Modern security on an ancient building. Someone's been upgrading. Hands where we can see them, viejo. The voice comes from above, backed by the distinctive sound of multiple weapons being aimed. I raise my hand slowly, letting them see I'm following instructions. For now. You've gotten sloppy, Victor, I call out. In Colombia, you'd never let a target walk right up to your front door. Silence. Then footsteps on metal catwalks. A figure emerges from the shadows. Broad-shouldered, military bearing. The years have turned his hair gray, but I'd recognize that scarred face anywhere. Victor El Cuervo Ramirez. James Hawkins. His accent is thicker than I remember. The ghost who killed my brother. Your brother died because he was running drugs for cartels while wearing a military uniform. You used to care about that kind of thing, and you used to be faster. He nods to someone behind me. I hear the footstep, just one, betraying an amateur trying to be stealthy. The syringe meant for my neck ends up in the attacker's thigh instead. As he crumples, I draw my Glock. 3 laser sights dance across my chest. Ramirez's men have decent positions, but they're not SEALs. They're waiting for orders instead of taking the shot. Where's Tommy? Ramirez smiles. Alive. For now. You know what I want. My land. What's so special about it? Progress requires sacrifice, my old friend. Your neighbor understood this. Eventually, after some persuasion, a door opens above. 2 men drag Tommy into view. His face is bruised, but he's conscious. Our eyes meet. Don't give them shit, Jim. He manages before a blow silences him. 20 years ago, you executed my brother without a trial. Ramirez continues. Today, you have a choice. The deed to your ranch for your friend's life. Simple exchange. Simple. Nothing's ever simple with Victor. In Colombia, he rigged a whole village with explosives just to catch 3 cartel members. The man doesn't do simple. You've got what you want from Tommy's land. Why push for mine? Something flickers across Ramirez's face. Worry? No. Anticipation. Whatever he's planning, my ranch is key. 1 hour to decide. He says, bring the deed to the Broken Spoke bar at sundown. Come armed. Come with police. Come late. Your friend dies badly. They withdraw into the shadows, taking Tommy with them. Professional. Coordinated. These aren't just cartel thugs. They're trained military, which means they've got protocols, patterns. weaknesses. As I drive away, my mind is already spinning through options. Victor thinks he's playing chess, moving pieces into position, but he forgot something important. In chess, the pawns die first. In Spec Ops, the pawns sometimes turn out to be hunters in disguise. Time to go hunting. Sarah's intelligence pays off faster than expected. My burner phone buzzes as I'm checking my old gear cache. The name on the screen brings back memories of firefights and close calls. Martinez. I hear you're back in the game, old man. Carlos Martinez, former Delta Force, now working Border Patrol. Sarah must have made some calls. Not by choice. I adjust my tactical vest. The familiar weight, both comforting and concerning. What do you have for me? 3 bodies at your place this morning. 4 more at abandoned farmhouses across the county. All cartel soldiers. Someone's been busy. I check the action on my Sig Sauer. Muscle memory from thousands of range hours. Taking over. They're clearing properties. Building something, Sarah mentioned. But here's what's interesting. They're drilling. Deep drilling equipment moving across the border under agricultural permits. And your ranch? It sits on top of the largest underground water table in the region. The pieces click together. Water rights. More valuable than oil in Texas these days. But something doesn't add up. They're not after water, Carlos. That's too simple for Victor. Who? A flash catches my eye. Reflection off a scope lens in the tree line. Amateur mistake. Got to go. Company's here. I drop before the first shot cracks across my yard. The round punches through my kitchen. Window. .308. Probably a Remington 700. Good gun, poor shooter. He's compensating for wind wrong. 2 more shooters move through the cotton fields, using the plants for concealment. They've got military gear but civilian training. Victor's recruiting locally. I stay low, using my barn's shadow for cover. The first shooter adjusts his position, giving me the angle I need. 1 shot, center mass. He drops. The others react predictably, spraying bullets wildly, wasting ammunition, creating chaos. But chaos is just opportunity wearing a mask. I circle behind them, moving through cotton rows I've walked 10,000 times. Home field advantage isn't just a sports term. Check the house. He has to be inside. English with border accents. Local muscle, just like I thought. They breach my front door with decent form but poor awareness. Never check the fields behind them. 2 more shots. 2 more problems solved. But they were just the diversion. Engine. Sounds from my back 40. Multiple vehicles moving fast. Through my rifle scope, I count 4 trucks loaded with men and equipment. They're not being subtle anymore. My phone vibrates. Unknown number. Impressive as always, James. Victor's voice. Smooth as aged tequila. But predictable. You're thinking tactically when you should be thinking strategically. An explosion rocks the ground. Black smoke rises from the direction of Tommy's ranch. Insurance policies are useful things, Victor continues. Like the demolition charges we wired through your friend's property while you were busy playing sniper. His land or yours. The result is the same. We get what we need. Another explosion. Closer. They're destroying Tommy's livelihood acre by acre. What's the play here, Victor? Water rights? Drug routes? You're smarter than that. He laughs. Oh, James. Still thinking like a soldier. Look bigger. What's worth more than water? More than drugs? What's the one thing America can't defend against? The realization hits like a punch to the gut. The deep drilling. The strategic property purchases. They're not building a smuggling route. They're building an invasion route. Tunnels. I breathe. You're creating an underground network. Very good. A network large enough to move anything, or anyone, across the border. Untraceable. Undetectable. The biggest private military contractor in Texas has already bought exclusive access rights. Imagine entire strike teams moving freely under the border. Weapons, assets, a new kind of war, fought from below. A third explosion. Tommy's ranch is burning now. You have 1 hour before we start drilling under your property, with or without your permission. The charges are already placed. Your choice is simple. Take the payment and walk away, or lose everything for nothing. The line goes dead as another explosion lights up the morning sky. They're not just destroying Tommy's ranch. They're sending a message. No one says no to the cartel. My sat phone chirps. Sarah, Jim, we've got satellite confirmation. They're moving heavy drilling equipment across multiple border points. Whatever they're planning, it's already happening. Victor's building underground highways for private military operations, using the cartels as cover. Silence on the line. Jesus. That would compromise the entire border security network. Give them access to every major city in Texas. We need to bullet slice through my barn wall. New shooters, better trained. They've got me pinned. Kind of busy, Sarah. Call you back. 3 men, full tactical gear, moving with actual military precision. Not cartel soldiers, private contractors. America's new favorite weapon. A grenade thumps through my barn window. I kick it into a hay bale and dive behind my tractor. The explosion shoots burning straw everywhere. They're trying to smoke me out. I switch to infrared on my scope. 2 heat. Signatures moving left, 1 right. Standard pincer movement. But they don't know about the tunnel. Yeah, I've got my own tunnel. Sometimes paranoia pays off. I drop into the hidden basement access, moving through the narrow passage that leads to my south field. Behind me, they breach the barn with textbook precision, finding nothing. Targets moving south. One of them spots me emerging from the tunnel exit. Good eyes. Too bad about the Claymore mine he's standing next to. The explosion cuts their team in half. Literally. The survivor calls for backup, but he's too busy shooting to notice me flanking his position. Close combat is messy, personal. He's good. Special forces good. But I've got 40 years of experience and nothing left to lose. We grapple in the cotton fields. His knife against mine. He's stronger, faster, younger. I'm meaner, smarter, more desperate. The outcome is never in doubt. As he bleeds out, his radio crackles. Team 3, report. Team 3? I recognize the voice. Captain Miller, former Delta Force. Went private sector 10 years ago. Now I know who's bankrolling Victor's operation. Your boy's taking a nap, Dave. I key the radio. Still hiring second-rate talent, I see. Hawkins. He sounds amused. Should have known you'd be a problem. Victor wants to buy you out. I say, we burn you out. Big words from a man hiding behind contractors. Oh, I'm not hiding. Check your west fence line. A line of vehicles appears on the horizon. More private military contractors. Heavy weapons. Mounted on their trucks. At least 20 men, all ex-military from their movements. Leading them is a familiar figure, David Miller himself. Looking every bit the corporate warlord. Last chance, old man. Take the money, or we dig our tunnels through your ashes. I check my ammunition. 3 magazines for the SIG, 2 for the rifle, grenades, claymores. Enough firepower for a decent last stand. But decent last stands are for movies. Real warriors know when to change tactics. I key the radio one last time. You're right about one thing, Dave. I am a problem, but not just for you. I dial Sarah while moving toward my hidden cache of explosives. Sometimes the best defense is a strategic retreat. Jim, we've got teams mobilizing. No time. Victor's working with Shadow Corp. David Miller's running their side. They're building underground highways for private military operations across the border. Miller, that changes things. We need to contact. Already doing it. But I need extraction. South side of my property. 10 minutes. Bring heavy weapons and coffee. Coffee. I set the last charge and check the detonator. It's going to be a long day. The first trucks cross onto my property as I fade into the cotton fields. Behind me, 20 years of peaceful farming life is about to go up in smoke. But that's okay. Some things are worth burning for. The detonator feels heavy in my hand. One push, and my past life ends. But Victor forgot something important about old soldiers. We don't know how to stay retired. Sarah's DEA tactical unit has decent gear, but their safe house looks like something out of a bad spy movie. Peeling wallpaper, flickering fluorescent lights, and the kind of coffee that could strip paint. Some things never change. Your ranch is gone, Sarah says, spreading satellite photos across a worn table. They moved in heavy equipment as soon as the flames died down. I study the images while cleaning my weapons. Another habit that never dies. They're working fast. Too fast for normal drilling operations. Because they're not drilling, Carlos tosses a thick file on the table. Found. These in a cartel accountant's computer. They're using sonic boring technology. Experimental stuff. Cuts through bedrock like butter. Almost silent. Perfect for building your own private invasion route. I check the action on my rebuilt SIG. Any word on Tommy? Sarah nods. Thermal imaging picked up a heat signature in one of the storage facilities. Near the border. Guards. Regular patrols. Way too much security for a simple warehouse. That's where they're keeping him. I mark the location on the map. What about Miller? Shadow Corp's CEO is officially in Dubai. Carlos grins. Unofficially, he's coordinating with Victor from a compound 20 miles south of your property. Real James Bond villain setup. I load magazines. Methodically, Each round a promise. Victor's smart. He'll expect us to hit the warehouse first. Try to rescue Tommy. It's the logical play. Sarah agrees. Which means it's probably trapped. Exactly. I pull up the compound schematics on Sarah's laptop, so we give them what they expect. Just not the way they expect it. Carlos raises an eyebrow. You want to hit both targets simultaneously. Victor thinks tactically. Miller thinks in corporate. Strategies. Neither one thinks like a SEAL. I start marking entry points on both locations. We're going to make them fight the last war while we fight the next one. Sarah studies the plans. DEA can't officially sanction this. Too many political complications with a private military contractor. Unofficially, she smiles. That same predatory grin I remember from joint operations years ago. Unofficially, I've got 12 operators who'd love some night work. Off the books. I'll take 6 for the warehouse. I check my watch. Carlos, your border patrol boys any good in a bull fight? 6 guys. Former military. Been itching to hit these cartel tunnels for months. I lay out the operation parameters. Simple plan, complex execution, just like the old days. The warehouse team will breach hard and loud. Flashbangs, breach charges, the whole show. Make them think it's a standard rescue op. Meanwhile, the compound team infiltrates during the chaos. Target priorities? Sarah's all business now. Warehouse team gets Tommy out. Plants charges on their drilling equipment. Compound team finds their data servers. We need proof of Miller's involvement to take to the FBI. And Victor? Carlos asks. The coffee tastes like battery acid. Perfect. He's mine. Sarah starts issuing orders through encrypted channels. Within an hour, her DEA operators arrive in unmarked vehicles. Good men, judging by their gear and bearing. They move like professionals. Check their weapons like veterans. 10 minutes. Sarah's voice cuts through the preparations. I do my final equipment check. Body armor rated for rifle rounds. Extra magazines. Flashbangs. Breaching charges. Combat. Knife that's seen more action than most soldiers. Carlos, your team set? He nods, checking his radio. Border patrols providing air support. Unofficial, of course. 2 helicopters will be conducting routine patrol exercises in the area. I brief both teams one last time. Simple words, clear objectives. No room for confusion when bullets start. Flying. These men are professional soldiers working for corporate money. They've got better gear than you. Newer weapons. Fancier toys. But they're fighting for a paycheck. We're fighting for Tommy. For justice. For our homes. Remember that. The warehouse looms ahead, dark against the desert sky. My team moves through the shadows like ghosts. Years of training taking over. Contact. North corner, whispers Johnson, one of Sarah's DEA operators. 2 tangos. Night vision gear. Hold. I order. Right on schedule. A helicopter appears over the ridge. Border Patrol's routine patrol, providing perfect cover noise. We breach the perimeter during the chopper's pass. Clean, quiet, professional. 2 guards down before they realize they're in a fight. Alpha team in position. Sarah's voice in my earpiece. Her team's ready at the compound. Execute. The night erupts. Flashbangs through the warehouse windows. Breach charges blow the doors. We flow in like water, targeting security cameras first. Resistance is immediate and skilled. These aren't cartel thugs. They're Victor's professional soldiers. Bullets spark off concrete as we push deeper. Server room breach complete. Sarah reports. Downloading data now. A burst of Spanish over enemy radio channels. They're scrambling to respond. Exactly as planned. Contact. Carlos encounters heavy resistance near the loading bay. Multiple hostiles. Falling back. Hold position. I move to support. Taking down 2 enemies with precise shots. Make them commit their reserves. The battle flows like a deadly dance. We push. They counter. They advance. We fade back, drawing them in, thinning their numbers. Tommy's location confirmed. Johnson reports. Sub-level 2, east side. Heavy security. Sarah, data secured. Moving to phase 2. I key my radio. All teams. Execute whiskey protocol. The real assault begins. While they're focused on us, Sarah's team hits their command and control. Synchronized chaos. We fight our way down to sub-level 2. The resistance gets heavier. They're protecting something big. Jim! Tommy's voice. Weak but alive. Back room. They've got something else down here. I breach the holding cell, finding Tommy zip-tied to a chair. But his eyes are fixed on something behind me. The back wall is covered in maps and blueprints. Not just tunnels. Full infrastructure plans. Power grids. Water systems. communication networks, everything needed for a shadow nation. Beneath the border, server download complete. Sarah reports, "You're not going to believe what we found. This goes way beyond Miller and Victor. Government contracts, black budgets, congressional connections. An explosion rocks the building, not one of ours. Multiple vehicles approaching both locations." Carlos warns, "Heavy weapons. They're bringing in everything." Tommy's barely conscious, but his eyes are clear. "They're gonna bury it all, Jim. Bury us with the evidence." I help him up, mind racing through options. "Sarah, bug out now. Get that data to the FBI. What about you?" The building shakes with another explosion. They're collapsing the tunnels, destroying their own operation rather than let it be exposed. "We'll take the express route." I plant charges along the tunnel wall. "Carlos, have your chopper ready at Nav Point Charlie. That's 3 miles away. Then we better run fast." I hit the detonator. The tunnel wall crumbles, revealing the massive, boring machine beyond. Sleek, experimental, worth more money than I'll see in 10 lifetimes. "That's why they wanted my ranch," Tommy mumbles as I help him onto the machine's maintenance walkway. Direct shot to Austin underneath. Not anymore. The machine's controls are complicated but logical. Start sequence, hydraulic activation, forward motion. Simple enough if you ignore the bullets flying overhead. All teams clear the area. I broadcast. Things are about to get loud. The boring machine roars to life. 200 tons of classified technology, and I'm about to drive it through their own tunnel network like a battering ram. "You're insane." Tommy manages a weak laugh. "Maybe." I aim the machine at the main support structure, but sometimes crazy works. The next 5 minutes are a blur of grinding metal, crumbling rock, and warning sirens. We bore through their tunnel network, collapsing key sections as we go. 3 miles of destruction, turning their underground highway into a cave-in. Daylight ahead. Carlos's helicopter waiting right where promised. Quite an entrance. He shouts over the rotor wash. I help Tommy aboard, taking one last look at the destruction behind us. Victor's dream of an underground empire. Miller's corporate war machine. All of it buried under tons of Texas limestone. "Sarah," I check my radio. "Data's secure. FBI's already moving. You should see Miller's face when they landed at his compound. And Victor, in the wind. But with his operation exposed, his cartel connections burned, he's running out of places to hide." Tommy grips my shoulder. "My ranch will rebuild. All of it." I watch the sunrise painting the desert gold. Some things are worth starting over for. The helicopter banks toward the DEA base. Below us, emergency vehicles converge on the collapse. Sights. News vans too. This story's too big to bury. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. "You've improved with age." Victor's voice, tight with controlled rage. "But this isn't over, my friend." I think about the evidence Sarah recovered, the network we destroyed, the lives we saved. "You're right, Victor. It's not over." I check my weapons. Old habits. It's just beginning. The FBI's safe house in Austin isn't much, but it's secure. Tommy's resting under federal protection while Sarah's team analyzes the data we recovered. I'm cleaning my weapons again. Some habits you don't want to break. Victor's gone dark. Carlos reports, fresh from a border patrol briefing. But his cartel's moving. Multiple convoys crossing at unofficial points. They're not even trying to hide anymore. Sarah spreads new satellite photos across the table because they don't need to. "Look at this." The images show massive construction projects all along the border. Private security companies, construction firms, shipping operations, all connected to Shadow Corp through shell companies. Miller's not running, I realize. He's escalating. Gets worse. Sarah pulls up thermal imaging on her laptop. Underground temperature readings show their tunnel network was bigger than we thought. What we destroyed was just one branch. The main system's still active. My phone buzzes. Victor's number. "Your interference has forced us to accelerate the timeline," he says without preamble. "Your friend's ranch was just the beginning. By sunset, we'll own every property from El Paso to Brownsville." Quite a speech. Practice that in the mirror? Still the same arrogant American. His voice hardens. "You took my brother. I took your home. Now I'm taking your whole world. The governor's mansion is already compromised. State leadership will be replaced." The line goes dead as Carlos bursts in. Multiple explosions reported across South Texas. Power stations, water treatment plants, communications hubs, creating chaos. Sarah says, "Cover for something bigger." My mind races through scenarios. Victor thinks like a soldier, but he's got Miller's resources now. What would I do with unlimited corporate backing and a secret tunnel network? The answer hits like a punch to the gut. The governor's energy summit, I say. Every major state leader in one place. Sarah checks her phone. Starting in 3 hours at the Capitol building. But security's tight. Federal marshals, state police, private contractors, Miller's contractors. Carlos interrupts. Shadow Corp just got the security contract last week. I start gearing up. Not standard tactical equipment this time. Something more subtle. Victor's going to hit the summit. I explain. Take out the state leadership. Create a power vacuum. Meanwhile, his cartel moves in through the tunnels. Takes control of key infrastructure during the chaos. A corporate-backed coup, Sarah breathes. Jesus. Get your teams moving. I'll handle Victor. Carlos checks his weapons. How? We don't even know where he is. I pull up the Capitol building schematics. Yes, we do. He won't trust anyone else to handle the summit hit. He'll want to be there, see it happen. That building's locked down tight, Sarah warns, even with my DEA credentials. Then we don't go through the front door. The maintenance tunnels under Austin are older than the state itself. Narrow, dark, forgotten by most. But they connect to the newer utility tunnels, which connect to the Capitol's basement level. Carlos sees it. Maintenance access through the old steam tunnels. Exactly. Victor's not the only one who can use underground routes. Sarah makes calls, mobilizing every federal agent she can trust. Carlos coordinates with Border Patrol tactical teams. A net, closing slowly around the Capitol. But Victor's smart. He'll have counters in place, backups, contingencies. We need a distraction, I say. Something big enough to draw attention but controlled enough to avoid casualties. Sarah grins. I might have something. Remember that sonic boring machine you borrowed? 2 hours later, I'm crawling through 100-year-old tunnels with a small team. Above us, Sarah's DEA units start their routine inspection of the Capitol's security. Carlos's Border Patrol teams quietly surround the building. The maintenance access is exactly where the old plan showed. 2 guards, Shadow Corp gear, professional posture. They die quietly. Control, this is Sentinel 2. One of their radios crackles. Check in. I key the radio, pitching my voice low. Sentinel 2, clear. Confirm password. A bead of sweat rolls down my neck. Rio Grande. Silence. Then, password confirmed. Maintain position. We move deeper into the utility level. More guards. More radio checks. Each one increasing the risk of discovery. Multiple vehicles approaching the Capitol. Sarah reports through my earpiece. Diplomatic plates. Summit starting early. How many shooters you count? I ask Carlos. 20 visible security. Probably twice that undercover. All Shadow Corp. And Victor? No visual yet. A distant rumble shakes the tunnel. Right on schedule. What the hell was that? Shadow Corp chatter erupts across all channels. Seismic activity. Detected. Sarah broadcasts on their frequency. Possible tunnel collapse near Congress Avenue. All units respond. Beautiful. They'll have to split their forces. Deal with the malfunctioning boring machine we parked under downtown. We breach the main utility room. 3 guards. Dealt with before they can radio. Their equipment tells a story. Date cord. Remote triggers. Enough explosives to bring down the whole building. Found their demo charges. I report. Sarah, get your bomb squad in position. Carlos, be ready to... Movement behind me. Pure instinct makes me duck as a knife slices where my throat was. Victor emerges from the shadows, combat blade in hand. Still moving like a special forces operator despite the years. I knew you'd come this way, he says. The forgotten tunnels. Just like Colombia, my team raises weapons, but Victor's men appear on the catwalks above. Mexican special forces, not cartel thugs, professionals. Your governor is already dead, Victor continues. She just doesn't know it yet. The explosives are merely insurance. This won't bring your brother back. No, but it will give me something better. A new order, built on the ashes of your corrupt system. Pretty speech. I shift my weight slightly. Practice that one in the mirror too? He smiles. Same cold expression I remember from Colombia. Some things never change. Still hiding behind jokes before a fight. Not hiding. Waiting. Sarah's voice. In my earpiece. Charges located. Bomb squad moving. Victor lunges. Blade flickering in the dim light. We crash together in a brutal dance of steel and skill. He's younger, faster, running on hatred and revenge. But I'm running on something stronger. Protection, purpose, home. His knife opens a line of fire across my ribs. My boot crushes. His knee. We separate. circle, clash again. Above us, his men exchange fire with my team. Your brother dealt drugs to children. I growl between strikes, used his uniform to move product. He died because he chose wrong. He died because America thinks it can police the world. Victor's next slash goes wide. Now you learn how it feels to be invaded, compromised, corrupted from within. The fight spreads through the utility level. Bullets spark off pipes. Grenades shake the foundations. The kind of close-quarters nightmare that defines special operations. All teams, execute. Sarah's command crackles through the chaos. DEA and Border Patrol forces breach from above. Victor's men are caught between hammer and anvil. Professional or not, they're outnumbered and surrounded. But Victor himself fights on. We crash through a maintenance door onto the boring machine's access tunnel. Ironic, the very system he built becoming his battlefield. It's over, I tell him. Miller's under arrest. Your tunnels are compromised. The summit's evacuated. Nothing's over. He throws a grenade. I kick it down the tunnel shaft. There are always more tunnels, more routes, more soldiers. The explosion rocks the boring machine. Warning lights flash as the tunnel groans. Maybe. I parry his knife, counter with an elbow strike. But not today. He slips in hydraulic fluid leaking from damaged machinery. His knife clatters away. For a moment, I see past the cartel boss to the soldier he used to be. Your brother made his choice, I say. Time to make yours. Victor draws a backup pistol, but his eyes show defeat. Some choices are made for us. He fires, not at me, but at the tunnel's support structure. Already weakened by the grenade, the ceiling begins to collapse. I dive through the maintenance door as tons of rock and metal seal the tunnel. Victor's laughter echoes, fading beneath the rumble of collapsing earth. Jim? Jim! Sarah's voice in my earpiece. Status? I catch my breath, feeling every hour of my age. Victor's gone. Tunnels collapsed. But not dead. You don't survive this long without escape routes. I check my wounds. Nothing critical. Building secure? Summit evacuated. Charges disarmed. Hostiles in custody. Miller's singing like a bird to the FBI. I make my way back through the utility level. Emergency teams swarm the Capitol above. Another crisis averted. Another battle won. But Victor's still out there. And he's right about one thing. There are always more tunnels. Jim? Carlos this time. What do we tell the press? I think about Tommy's destroyed ranch. My burned home. The corrupt network we've exposed. Tell them the truth. Tell them nowhere's safe until we root out every tunnel, every traitor, every compromised system. And Victor, I check my weapons. Old habits. Tell them we're just getting started. The FBI's evidence room burns bright against the night sky. Third accident this week. Victor's cleaning house, erasing every trace of Shadow Corp's involvement. Total loss. Sarah reports. Watching. Federal agents dig through the ashes. All the files we recovered. The server data. Miller's testimony. Everything gone. Not everything. I hand her a flash drive. Old SEAL habit. Always keep backups. But Victor's already a step ahead. As Sarah reaches for the drive, bullets shatter the car window between us. Down! I tackle her behind the FBI van as more shots crack across the parking lot. Professional shooters. Multiple angles. They knew we'd be here. Federal agents under fire. Sarah barks into her radio. North. Parking lot. I spot the muzzle flashes. 3 shooters on the roof. 2 in the buildings across the street. They're boxing us in, forcing us toward the burning evidence room. He's not trying to kill us. I realize. He's hurting us. An explosion rocks the van, flipping it onto its side. The heat from the burning building intensifies. They're pushing us into the fire. You got a plan? Sarah reloads her sidearm, working on it. I key my emergency radio. Carlos, you got eyes on this? Static answers. Not good. A new sound cuts through. The gunfire. Helicopter rotors. But not the good guys. Shadow Corp private security. Someone shouts. Everyone stand down. The chopper's spotlight pins us behind the burning van. Perfect targets. Since when does private security have air support? Sarah's voice drips sarcasm. Since Miller sold them his military contracts. I check my ammunition. 2 magazines. Left. This isn't a firefight. It's a corporate takeover. The helicopter banks lower. Its door gunner taking aim. But something's wrong with its flight pattern. Get ready to run. I grab Sarah's arm. Run where? The answer comes in the form of Carlos's Border Patrol chopper, screaming in from the darkness. Its spotlight blinds the Shadow Corp pilot, forcing him to break off. Sorry I'm late. Carlos's voice crackles through my radio. Traffic was hell. We sprint through the chaos as the helicopters duel overhead. The roof shooters adjust, trying to track us. Amateur move. They bunch together for a better angle. One grenade solves that problem. FBI teams moving in from the yaw. South. Sarah updates as we run. But something's wrong. Half our backup's been diverted to multiple bomb threats across the city. Not threats. I lead us down a side street. Distractions. My phone vibrates. Text from Tommy. Turn on the news. Every screen in the electronics store window shows the same breaking story. Border violence escalates. Private security firms granted emergency powers. That's why they burned the evidence. Sarah watches the footage of Shadow Corp forces deploying across Texas. They're not hiding anymore. They're going legitimate. State of emergency gives them jurisdiction. I check our 6 as we move. Private. Military contractors with legal authority. Jim. Carlos's warning comes too late. The street ahead erupts in gunfire. Armored SUVs block both ends. No win scenario. Unless... Remember Panama City? I ask Sarah. You're not serious. Trust me. I shoot out a gas line running up the building wall. Natural gas hisses into the air as the SUVs close in. Last chance to surrender. The Shadow Corp commander sounds almost bored. I fire one round into the gas cloud. Physics does the rest. The explosion isn't huge, but it's enough. While they're distracted, we slip into the drainage tunnels beneath the street. All units converge on downtown. Sarah's radio crackles with panic. Multiple explosions reported. Tactical teams respond. The city above us descends into chaos. Sirens, gunfire, the thrum of helicopters. Victor's master stroke. Turn Texas into a war zone, then sell the solution. Border patrols grounded. Carlos reports. FAA just gave Shadow Corp exclusive air rights. They're calling it a security partnership. Sarah checks her phone. FBI's the same. We're being ordered to cooperate fully with private security forces. The pieces click together. Victor's not just taking over. I lead us deeper into the tunnel network. He's making it legal, using Miller's political connections to turn Texas into his private kingdom. But why? Sarah's voice echoes off concrete walls. The cartel already had power. This is bigger than the cartel. I think about the maps we found, the infrastructure plans. He's building his own private army, one with badges, contracts, and legal authority. My phone buzzes. Victor, beautiful, isn't it? He sounds pleased. Your American obsession with private enterprise, with outsourcing everything, even security. You gave us the keys to your own kingdom. Above us, another explosion rocks the city. Your brother would be proud, I say, using capitalism instead of cocaine. My brother was a soldier who saw the truth, that borders are just lines on a map. Now there are no lines, no rules, just power and profit. He laughs. America taught us well. Now excuse me, I have a press conference. The people need reassurance in these troubled times. The line goes dead as we emerge from the tunnels near the State House. Emergency vehicles scream past, but the private security forces are already in control. Shadow Corp logos everywhere. Jim, Sarah's voice is tight. Look, every major news channel shows the same feed. Victor, in an expensive suit, standing with state officials. In light of the ongoing emergency, the governor announces, we've granted temporary law enforcement authority to our private security partners. It's over, Carlos whispers. I check my weapons. Old habits. No, it's not. Jim, be realistic. Sarah gestures at the chaos around us. They've won. They've got the contracts, the authority, the whole system. They've got papers and politicians. I start walking. We've got the truth. Where are you going? I think about Tommy's destroyed ranch, my burned home, everything Victor's taken. To remind him that some lines shouldn't be crossed. The city burns around us, but I've seen worse. Sometimes you have to lose everything to remember what matters. And what matters is simple. No matter how legal he makes it, no matter how many badges he buys, Victor crossed the wrong line. He made it personal. The homeless camp under Highway 183 isn't much of a safe house. But that's the point. Victor's looking for special forces operators in tactical gear, not an old man in ragged clothes, sharing a fire with Austin's forgotten. More corporate types downtown, Maria tells me, her weathered face illuminated by flames. Former Army intelligence, now one of my best sources. Suits with guns, trying not to look like they got guns. I pass her a fresh coffee. Any patterns? They're searching buildings, but not all of them, just the ones with basement access. 3 days since Victor's coup, 3 days of watching Shadow Corp turn Texas into a corporate police state. But they're still hunting for something. My burner phone vibrates. Sarah, Miller talked. Her voice is hushed. Before they got to him in protective custody, said Victor's got a kill switch. What kind? Dead. Man's switch. If he dies or disappears, it releases everything. Every politician they've bought. Every contract. Every dirty secret. Complete social collapse. Clever. Victor's made himself untouchable. Take him down. You take down the whole system. But he's still searching. I muse. Still worried about something. Maria points to her tablet. Another gift from her army days. Security camera feeds show Shadow Corp teams focusing on old buildings, historic sites. The pattern clicks. He lost it, I realize. The trigger device. During the tunnel collapse, Sarah's sharp intake of breath. You're sure? Has to be. He's not looking for resistance fighters. He's looking for his insurance policy. Jim, Maria's voice carries warning. More Shadow Corp vehicles approaching. I kill the fire. Fade into shadows. Professional habits. Sarah, check the original city plans. Oldest sections of the utility. Tunnels. That's where it fell. Those tunnels are flooded. Half collapsed. Exactly. Why he can't find it. A pause. I'll need time to access the archives. Shadow Corp's got everything locked down. Use Tommy's hospital credentials. He's still officially a patient. I move through back alleys, avoiding patrols. The city feels wrong. Too many guns, too few citizens. People staying inside, heads down. This isn't Texas anymore. Carlos meets me behind an abandoned church. Border Patrol's been officially integrated into Shadow Corp's command structure. We're being issued their equipment, their protocols. How many of your people stayed? Half resigned, other half's playing along, gathering intel. He hands me a tablet. Like this. Satellite images show massive construction along the border. Not just tunnels now, entire underground facilities. They're building forward operating bases. I explain, staging areas for whatever comes next. Brazil, Carlos pulls up news feeds. Venezuela, Mexico, private security firms expanding operations. Across Latin America, all Shadow Corp subsidiaries. Victor's thinking bigger than Texas. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. Your death would be simpler, Victor says without preamble. But watching you see everything you fought for corrupted from within, that's sweeter. Still bitter about Colombia? Colombia was education. America taught us that real power isn't in cocaine or cartels. It's in contracts, corporations, and compliance. Pretty words. Bet that sounds great in boardrooms. Mock all you want, old friend. In 1 week, Texas signs over its entire law enforcement, infrastructure to private contractors. In 1 year, half the Americas will follow. The future is corporate, and I am its architect. Unless someone finds what you lost. Silence. Then, you always were clever. But ask yourself, can you break it all? Destroy the system to save it? The fee line dies as Sarah's message comes through. Original tunnel maps located. I study the century-old plans. The lowest levels follow natural aquifer flows, connecting to the spring. I remember Tommy mentioning it once. Natural artesian well under downtown. Feeds the whole aquifer system. Carlos checks his weapon. Shadow Corp's got the whole area. Locked down. Heavy patrols. Motion sensors. But they're looking up here. I trace the original water line. Not down there. Sarah meets us at the storm drain access. She's wearing utility company coveralls. Most of these tunnels collapsed decades ago, she explains, checking her diving gear. But the main water shaft is still active. Goes down 60 feet to the aquifer level, where everything eventually washes up, I add. The descent is tight, dark, dangerous. Old stone walls slick with mineral deposits. Below, underground currents move through ancient limestone. Motion sensors ahead, Carlos whispers. I check the signal jammer. Technology cuts both ways. They'll read it as water turbulence. The shaft opens into a flooded chamber. Crumbling stone arches disappear into darkness. Somewhere down here, Victor's insurance policy waits. 3 hours of air. Sarah checks her gauge. Assuming nothing goes wrong, something always goes wrong. We dive into black water. Powerful currents tug at us, try to pull us into narrower tunnels. Our lights catch glimpses of old machinery, railroad spurs, forgotten infrastructure. The colonial-era spring feeds into a natural cavern. Centuries of water have carved it into a cathedral of stone. And there, caught in ancient support beams, that's military-grade waterproof casing. Sarah's voice crackles through the comm. Before I can respond, another light appears. Then another. Shadow Corp divers. Victor's not stupid. He's got teams searching. Everywhere. Company. I transmit to Carlos topside. How many targets? 4 signatures entering the water. Professional gear. They've got better equipment. Newer tech. But I've got experience and home field advantage. The fight is brutal. Close quarters. Can't shoot underwater. Have to rely on knives and training. One diver gets tangled in his own airline. Another misjudges the current. Slams into stone. Sarah grabs the case while I handle the last 2. Steel flashes in murky water. Blood clouds spread like ink. Warning beeps. Air running low. The surviving diver retreats, leaving his dead behind. Surface team moving in. Carlos warns. Multiple vehicles approaching. We swim for the extraction. Point. Every second burns oxygen we can't spare. Sarah surfaces first, passing the case to Carlos. I'm halfway up when the first explosion hits. They're collapsing the tunnel. Move! I push Sarah toward the exit as debris rains down. The water level rises rapidly. Carlos provides covering fire while we scramble out. Shadow Corp teams converge from all directions. Tell me that's what we're looking for, Sarah gasps. I examine the case. Military-grade electronics. Quantum encryption. Exactly what you'd use for a dead man's switch. Victor's insurance policy. I start accessing the files. Everything he's got on everyone. Jim. Carlos's voice holds warning. We got problems. Helicopters approach. Vehicles block every street. An army of private soldiers closing in. Downloads at 20%. Sarah reports. You need to go. I hand her the data drive. Get this to the FBI, the press, everyone. I'll hold them. Here, Jim. Some things are worth dying for. I check my weapons. Old habits. The ranch was. This is. Carlos and Sarah disappear into pre-arranged escape routes as Victor's voice echoes through a megaphone. Very impressive, my friend. But now what? Release the data. Destroy the system. How many innocent lives ruined? Since when do you care about innocent lives? I care about order, structure, the natural hierarchy of power. Release that data, and it all burns. The download completes. One button separates Texas from chaos. You'd sacrifice everything, Victor continues, just to stop progress? I think about Tommy's destroyed ranch, my burned home, a lifetime of service twisted into corporate tyranny. No, I say, just to stop you. I hit the button as the world erupts in gunfire. Sometimes the only way to save something is to break it first. And I've always been good at breaking things. Chaos erupts faster than even Victor predicted. Within hours of the data release, half the state government resigns. Federal agents arrest contractors, politicians, judges. Shadow Corp's carefully built empire crumbling under the weight of truth. But truth has a price. I fight through the streets of Austin as city infrastructure fails. Power grids shutting down, communications dark, emergency services in disarray. Victor's dead man switch did exactly what it promised. Total system collapse. National Guards mobilizing. Sarah updates. Through bursting static. But Shadow Corp's private army isn't standing down. They're converging on the Capitol building. Victor's making his last stand. I check my dwindling ammunition. Going out in a blaze of corporate glory. Jim. She hesitates. Satellite shows. They're bringing in heavy weapons. Military-grade stuff. They're not trying to hold the building. They're going to destroy it. Erase the evidence. Bury the bodies. I reload my rifle. Old habits. Where's Carlos? Border patrols engaged at multiple crossing points. Shadow Corp's making a final push from Mexico, using the chaos as cover. Perfect. Victor's playing his last cards. Create enough chaos to cover his escape south. Unless someone stops him. The Capitol building looms ahead, illuminated by emergency lights and muzzle flashes. Shadow Corp forces have created a perimeter, holding off local police and federal agents. East side's lighter, Sarah reports. They're focused on the main entrance. Because Victor's not trying to keep people out. I move through shadows, muscle memory from countless operations. He's keeping them contained. The evidence room, the servers, everything that could still implicate higher-ups in other states, other countries. Victor's going to burn it all. I breach through a service entrance, neutralizing 2 guards with mechanical efficiency. Age and exhaustion fade away, replaced by decades of training and experience. The building's interior is a war zone. Security forces exchange fire with private military contractors. Shell casings litter marble floors. History bleeding out on century-old stone. Jim! Tommy's voice crackles through my radio. They're planting charges in the foundation. I can see them from the hospital. How long? Minutes. Maybe less. I move faster, pushing through rooms filled with gun smoke and spent brass. Each engagement brief, brutal, efficient. These aren't cartel soldiers anymore. They're desperate men fighting for survival. Victor's voice echoes through the building's PA system. You think exposing us changes anything? We are the future. Government, law enforcement, military, all private, all corporate, all controlled. A explosion rocks the east wing. Support pillars crumbling, floors destabilizing. They're bringing it down systematically. You're done, Victor, I shout between bursts of gunfire. Your empire's falling. Empires don't fall, they evolve. You've started a revolution, old friend. Private armies will replace national ones. Corporate security will replace police. The free market will finally be free. I reach the main server. Room. Bodies everywhere. Federal agents. State police. Private contractors. The real cost of corporate warfare. Victor stands at a central console, still elegant in his blood-stained suit. Screens behind him show news feeds of the spreading chaos. You should thank me, he says without turning. I've created something beautiful, perfect order through private power. You created a nightmare. I created the future. He finally faces me, eyes fever bright. Look around you. Government failing. Systems collapsing. Who will restore order? Private enterprise. Corporate. Stability. My vision. Your brother had visions too. Right before I put him down, the words hit harder than bullets. Victor's corporate mask cracks, revealing the soldier beneath. My brother was a patriot. He saw the corruption in all governments, all borders. His hand moves to a detonator. Now everyone will see it. Your brother was a drug dealer in a uniform, just like you're a terrorist in a suit. He moves with military precision, drawing and firing in one smooth motion. But I'm already rolling, returning fire from behind a server bank. Terrorist. He laughs between shots. I'm a businessman. This is just hostile corporate takeover. 5 minutes to complete demolition. A computerized voice announces, please evacuate immediately. The server room dissolves into close quarters combat. Victor's younger, faster, burning with zealot's conviction. But I've got experience, determination, and nothing left to lose. We crash through glass partitions, grapple across data centers, each of us looking for that one decisive advantage. You're fighting the future, Victor gasps after a particularly brutal exchange. Private power is inevitable. Nothing's inevitable. I spit blood, adjust my grip. That's why we fight. For what? Your precious democracy? Your corrupt government? For home. The word hits him like a physical blow. For a moment, I see past the corporate warlord to the soldier he used to be, the man who once fought for something real. 4 minutes. To complete demolition, the building shakes. Support structures failing, floors beginning to collapse. Victor uses the distraction to slam me into a server rack, pins me with inhuman strength. I gave them a chance. His mask completely gone now, replaced by rage, offered to buy their land. Their loyalty could have been peaceful. Nothing built on blood stays peaceful. I headbutt him, feel cartilage crack. You forgot that, Victor. Forgot what real peace costs. We're both bleeding now, both running on empty. The room strobes with emergency lights and weapons fire. Outside, sirens wail as the city burns. 3 minutes to complete demolition. Victor reaches for the detonator, but his corporate precision is gone. Now he's just another desperate soldier fighting for a lost cause. The detonator skids across the floor as we grapple, each of us knowing one mistake means death. You think stopping me changes anything? He drives a knee into my ribs. There will be others. Corporations are the new nations. Maybe. I slip his hold. Years of training taking over. But not today. 2 minutes to complete demolition. The floor buckles beneath us. Structural supports giving way. The whole building groaning like a dying beast. Victor lunges for the detonator. I tackle him through a glass partition. We hit the ground rolling, each trying to achieve dominant position. All I wanted, he wheezes through broken ribs, was order. Control, a world without chaotic borders and corrupt governments. No, I get him in a chokehold. Feel him struggle. You wanted power, just like your brother. 1 minute to complete. Demolition. Sarah's voice cuts through my radio. Jim, get out. Building's coming down. But Victor's not done. With his last strength, he pulls a backup detonator from his jacket. If I die, he wheezes, I take it all with me. My vision, my future. Time slows. Just like combat, just like training. The detonator seems to float between us. Victor's finger tightening on the trigger. Years of violence, betrayal, and corporate greed distilled into one moment. I see Tommy's destroyed ranch, My burned home. Everything Victor's taken in his quest for power. Your future? The words taste like copper and smoke. Is history. The knife slides between his ribs with professional precision. His eyes widen, not with pain or fear, but with something like recognition. You haven't changed, he whispers. Still the same killer. No, I catch the detonator as it falls from his limp fingers. Still the same protector. The building shudders. Final collapse imminent. Victor's body cooling on marble floors as his corporate empire burns. Jim! Sarah's voice desperate now. Move! I run through falling debris and fading gunfire. Behind me, Victor's perfect future crumbles into dust. Sometimes the only way to save something is to let the bad parts burn. And I've always been good at starting fires. Victor's death doesn't end the war. It just changes the battlefield. Shadow Corps forces, leaderless but desperate, scatter across Texas like shrapnel from an explosion. 3 convoys headed for Mexico, Carlos reports. His border patrol units are back under federal control, hunting down the remnants. Heavy weapons, corporate documents, probably their core leadership. I clean my weapons while studying satellite feeds. Old habits die hard. They'll try to reach their tunnel network, go underground, literally and figuratively. Already happening. Sarah spreads maps across the table in our makeshift command center. Shadow Corp teams are falling back to hardened positions along the border, using their own infrastructure as a defensive line. How many? At least 60 professional contractors at each site, former special forces, private military veterans. These aren't cartel thugs running home. They're soldiers making a last stand. Perfect. Desperate men with military training and corporate weapons. Just another day in Texas. National Guards mobilizing, Carlos adds. But they're spread thin dealing with civil unrest. These corporate soldiers could slip away in the chaos. No, I check my tactical gear one last time. They don't get to walk away from this. Sarah raises an eyebrow. You're not seriously thinking. Victor's dead, but his network's still active. Those tunnels connect to military bases, power stations, water supplies. Leave them intact. Someone else just steps into his shoes. Jim, Carlos hesitates. These aren't random strongholds. They're hardened military positions with professional garrisons. Good thing I know some professionals. My phone buzzes. Tommy, hospital's got power again, he says without preamble. Was watching the news. You're going after their fallback positions? Someone has to. Got some boys here might help. Former Rangers, Marines, good men who lost land to Shadow Corps acquisitions. They're looking to settle accounts. I think about Victor's words about private armies and corporate power. Maybe it's time to fight fire with fire. 2 hours later, our ragtag force assembles at an abandoned ranch house. Former Special Forces operators, retired military, even some local police who refuse to bow to Shadow Corp. All of them carrying personal weapons, wearing civilian gear. No uniforms, no badges, just Texans defending home. 3 primary targets. I brief them. Old training taking over. Tunnel access points here, here, and here. Each one protecting evacuation routes for their leadership. Rules of engagement? Someone asks. They're corporate soldiers on private land using military weapons. We're private citizens defending our state. I check my rifle. Figure it out. We split into 3 teams. Sarah takes the east position with her DEA contacts. Carlos leads local law enforcement against the central facility. I take the western approach with Tommy's volunteers. First team in position. Sarah reports. The sun sets over Texas soil as we prepare for battle. One last fight to clean up this corporate war. Second team ready. Carlos confirms. I give the order. Execute. The night erupts in coordinated chaos. Sarah's team hits their target with precision demolition charges. Collapsing tunnel access points. Carlos leads a frontal assault on the central facility, drawing defenders' attention while tactical teams breach from behind. My group takes the hardest target, Shadow Corp's main evacuation route. Their elite contractors are dug in, using their own security infrastructure against us. Contact front. Multiple muzzle flashes from fortified positions. These guys know what they're doing. I direct fire teams to suppress while demo charges are set. Just like old times, just different enemies. They're falling back into the tunnels. Tommy's voice crackles through static, using their own sensor networks for cover. Perfect. Let them run to ground. All teams, implement scorched earth. Demolition charges destroy tunnel access points across the border. Secondary explosions chain through their underground network as ammunition stockpiles cook off. But Shadow Corp's veterans don't go quietly. They counterattack with everything they've got. Automatic weapons, tactical vehicles, even corporate, helicopters, RPG. The warning comes too late. The explosion throws me behind a concrete barrier, ears ringing, vision blurred. Just like Afghanistan, just like Colombia, some things never change. East team taking heavy casualties, Sarah reports. They've got counter-assault teams with military gear. Push through. I direct suppressing fire while flanking teams move up. Don't let them regroup. The battle flows like a deadly dance. They have better equipment. We have home field advantage. They fight for money. We fight for Texas. A corporate helicopter strafes our position, miniguns tearing up earth and concrete. But they forgot something important about Texas ranchers. We know how to shoot. Multiple rifles track the aircraft. Military precision meets rural marksmanship. The helicopter spirals away trailing smoke, then explodes against a hillside. Central facility breached, Carlos announces. But they've wired the whole place. Looks like they're planning to bury their secrets. Let them. I key my radio. All teams commence collapse protocols. More explosions ripple through the night. Not random destruction, calculated demolition, bringing down Shadow Corp's underground empire with their own charges. Multiple vehicles breaking through South Perimeter, Sarah warns. Corporate leadership making a run for it. Not happening. I commandeer a tactical vehicle, old training taking over. Carlos, cut them off at Checkpoint Charlie. Sarah, maintain, containment. Everyone else, fire at will. The chase is brutal. High-speed combat through desert terrain. Shadow Corp's remnants fight like cornered animals, using every weapon and tactic in their corporate arsenal. But they're fighting against men and women who've lived this land for generations. Every hill, every arroyo, every patch of scrub brush becomes an advantage. Got 'em boxed in, Carlos reports. Border Patrol teams on their south, your boys on their north. End it. The final confrontation is quick, professional, decisive. Corporate soldiers might have fancy gear, but they break just like anyone else when the odds turn against them. Dawn breaks over smoking ruins and abandoned vehicles. Shadow Corp's underground network destroyed, their leadership captured or killed. Victor's corporate army reduced to scattered survivors fleeing into Mexico. Federal teams moving in. Sarah updates. FBI, Homeland Security, even CIA. Guess they finally decided to show up. Let them clean up the paperwork. I helped Tommy to his feet. We did the real work. Speaking of paperwork, Carlos hands me a satellite phone. Governor wants to talk about private security contractors operating without authorization. Think about Victor's words about private armies and corporate power. About how some things are worth fighting for. Tell him we're just concerned citizens protecting our homes. I check my weapons one last time. Old habits. And if he doesn't like it, he can try hiring some corporate contractors to stop us. The joke gets tired laughs. We're all exhausted, battered, but standing, just like Texas. Jim, Tommy gestures at the rising sun. What now? I look at the smoking ruins of Shadow Corp's last stronghold, at the men and women who fought not for money or power, but for home. Now, I start walking. Now, we rebuild, just like always. Because that's the thing about Texas. You can burn it, buy it, try to break it. But, as long as there are people willing to fight for it, willing to bleed for it, willing to stand against anyone who'd try to own it, well, that's something no corporation can buy, and some things are worth fighting for. 3 months after Victor's death, I stand in my rebuilt ranch house, watching cotton fields sway in the morning breeze. Some things you can't destroy, they just come back stronger. Construction teams found another tunnel network yesterday, Sarah says, scanning reports on her tablet. She visits more often now, keeping me updated on the cleanup. Looks like Victor's operation went deeper than anyone thought. They always do. I pour her coffee, strong and black. Old habits. How's the investigation going? FBI's still untangling Shadow Corp's corporate web. Shell companies, offshore accounts, political connections. Makes your average cartel look simple. Through my window, I can see Tommy supervising workers rebuilding his ranch. The government compensation helped, but it's the community that really made it happen. Neighbors helping neighbors. The real Texas way. Any word on the stragglers? Sarah nods. Border Patrol picked up 3 more corporate contractors last week, trying to sell tactical data to cartels in Mexico. Carlos's team shut that down hard. And Miller, singing like a bird in federal custody. Turns out corporate types don't handle prison well. She manages a small smile. His testimony's helping us track down ShadowCorp assets worldwide. Victor's dream of a private military empire is officially dead. My phone buzzes. Text from Carlos. Another group of displaced ranchers returning home. Every week, more people rebuild, recover, refuse to be broken. Senator's office called again. Sarah mentions casually. They're pushing that private security regulation bill. Want you to testify? No. I check my rifles. Still a daily routine. Politicians got us into this mess. Let them get themselves out. Jim. She hesitates. What happened here? It could happen again. Different companies, different names, same game. Maybe. I look at my land, really look at it. Not just soil and crops, but history, legacy. But they'll find the same thing Victor did. Some things you can't buy. A truck pulls up outside. Tommy with his daughter Amy. She moved back from Austin to help rebuild. Another thing Victor didn't count on. You can't corporate raid community. Uncle Jim. Amy hugs me like I'm family. Maybe I am. Dad says you're being stubborn about the ceremony. The governor wants to give us medals. Call us heroes. Turn Texas resistance into feel-good political theater. Already got all the medals I need. I gesture at the rebuilt ranch. This is better than any ceremony. Sarah's phone chirps. She reads the message, expression turning serious. What is it? Homeland Security. They found something in Victor's personal files. A contingency plan. She shows me the screen. He had backup facilities. Other corporations ready to continue his work. This might not be over. It's never over. I think about Victor's words about the future, about private power replacing public trust. But that's why we stay ready. Tommy joins us, leaning on his cane. The cancer's in remission. Another battle won. Folks in town are talking. Other states seeing similar corporate buyouts. Private military contractors moving in. Let them come. I pour more coffee. We'll be here. Amy helps her father sit, then spreads out construction plans. The rebuilt ranches will be stronger, better connected. Underground sensors, community alert systems. Never again will we be caught unaware. Whole states changing, Sarah observes. People aren't just rebuilding, they're organizing. Community, defense groups, local coordination networks, making sure no corporation can ever divide them again. That's the real victory. I watch workers raising new barns, stringing new fences, not just beating Victor, but bringing people together. My security system pings. More visitors. Carlos's border patrol truck, followed by local ranchers. Weekly security meeting. Another new tradition. Heard from Martinez up near Dallas. Carlos reports as they gather in my living room. Corporate land buyers showed up again. Different company. Same pitch. How'd that go? Sarah asks. Community met them at the county line. Very politely suggested they do business elsewhere. He grins. Very politely. The meeting covers standard issues, patrol schedules, communication protocols, suspicious activity reports. Not just ranchers anymore, but a community defense network. Neighbors watching out for neighbors. State legislatures in session, Tommy mentions. Talking about new laws against private military contractors. Restrictions on corporate security forces. Laws are good. I clean my weapons while we talk. Old habits die hard. But paper doesn't protect people. People protect people. Amy's computer pings. Alerts from similar groups across Texas. Weekly check-ins. Sharing intelligence. Staying ready. Victor's legacy isn't corporate takeover. It's community awakening. Getting reports from other states. Sarah adds. Similar. Networks forming. People looking at what happened here. Getting organized. Corporate power versus community power. Speaking of power, Carlos checks his phone. FBI raid in Houston this morning. Another private military firm. Different name but same playbook. Community intel helped take them down. I think about Victor's last words about the inevitable corporate future. About private armies replacing public trust. He was right about the threat, wrong about the response. You know they'll keep coming, Sarah says quietly. Different names, different tactics, same goal. Let them. I look at the people gathered in my home. Not just neighbors now, brothers and sisters in arms. Community turned family. We'll be ready. Through my window, the Texas sun paints everything gold. New buildings rising from burned ground. New connections forged in adversity. New strength born from resistance. Victor thought the future belonged to corporate power, to private armies, and bought loyalty. He never understood that some things can't be bought. They have to be earned, built, protected. My phone buzzes. Another community alert. suspicious vehicles near the border, corporate logos, armed security. Another test coming, but that's okay. Texas was built by people who stood together, fought together, protected their homes together. I check my weapons one last time. Not just old habits now, new purpose. Well, Tommy raises an eyebrow. What's the plan? I look at the faces around me. Sarah's federal authority, Carlos's border knowledge, Tommy's local connections, ranchers, farmers, ordinary citizens turned defenders. Same as always. I stand, ready for whatever comes. We protect our own, because that's the thing about home. It's not just a place. It's not just land or buildings or borders on a map. It's people, community, family, and family. Family fights together. Victor thought he could buy Texas, own it, control it, break it to corporate will. But he forgot something important. Some things are worth more than money. Some things are worth fighting for. And we're just getting started.